Yes friends, now let us start with your basics of registration where I will be talking about your nature of registration. Before taking the three important parts of registration being application for registration, amendment and cancellation. So this would give you a very fair idea of all the other three parts. So when you talk about your GST number, please understand that your GST number is PAN based. Right, so normally you cannot get your GST number without having a PAN. Also, your GST number is Aadhaar number based, so you have to link your Aadhaar. Aadhaar authentication is mandatory. So normally you cannot have your GST number without linking of your Aadhaar number. Also, your GST number is state based. So normal thumb rule is you can have only one registration in one state. Obviously there are exceptions, and you cannot have one registration for entire India. So one state, one registration. If you are working in 5 states, normal understanding is you should have 5 registration. So that is the concept. And GST number is not tax based, which means if at all you are registered in Maharashtra, you will not be registering separately with the central GST department and Maharashtra state GST department. So GST number is not tax specific. It is not tax specific. Single registration will be there for all the types of taxes, whether it is CGST or SGST, UTGST or IGST or compensation cess. So your GST number is PAN based. Without your PAN number, you will generally will not have any GST number. Obviously exceptions are there for all. Aadhaar number based. So normally your GST number will be linked with your Aadhaar. If not, you might not get GST number. Obviously exceptions are there. It is state based. Normally the concept is one state, one registration. So even in that one state, if you have hundreds of branches, you can go with one registration. But if you are working in 2 states and having one branch in each of them, even though you are having only 2 branches, but you have to take 2 registration, because one state, one registration concept is there. And GST number is not tax based. Supposing you are taking registration in a particular state, say for example Maharashtra or Delhi, you are going to take only one registration, whether it is for CGST or Maharashtra SGST or IGST or cess. In Delhi, whether it is CGST or Delhi SGST or IGST or cess, in Delhi there will be a separate one registration. So it is not tax based, no separate registration for each of the taxes. Now understand that once you get your GST number, you will be set to have your GST IN. What is this GST IN? GST identification number. GST identification number, which is a 15-digit number, and it is nothing but a certificate of registration which will be there, which will also incorporate your GST IN, 15-digit number. Now when you talk about your breakup of your 15-digit number, the first 2 digit will be nothing but the state code. Supposing you are talking about the state of Tamil Nadu, the first 2 digit will be 33, which is the state code. The next 10 digits will be nothing but your PAN number. So from 1 and 2 will be your state code, 3 to 12 it will be your PAN number. Then 13th number will be nothing but entity number in that particular state. Supposing in Tamil Nadu you are having only one registration, 13th number will be 1. In Tamil Nadu you are having 5 registration, which is possible. So 13th number will be 1 for the first registration in Tamil Nadu, 2 for the second registration in Tamil Nadu, likewise. Supposing you are working in 2 states, Tamil Nadu and Maharashtra, 13th number in Tamil Nadu will be 1 and 13th number in Maharashtra will also be 1, because that is the first registration in that state. So you are talking about that particular state wise, right? Just because you are having 2 registration does not mean that 13th number will change to 1 and 2. You are talking about 13th number being entity number in that particular state. In that particular state. If in Tamil Nadu you are having 2 registration, then 13th number will be 1 and 2 for these 2 registration. If you are having 2 registration, 1 in Tamil Nadu, 1 in Maharashtra, then 13th number will be 1 in each of them. What will be different is the state code. Tamil Nadu will have first 2 digits separate state code, Maharashtra will have first 2 digits separate state code. 14th number, as of now it is alphabet Z by default, and 15th will be a random checksum digit number. So it might be a number or an alphabet, random checksum digit. You cannot predict, that system will generate and give you. So that is the breakup of your 15 digit GST number. Please understand that GST number, unless otherwise it is a special case, it is permanent in nature. So once you get the GST number, it is valid till it is cancelled. However, when you are talking about two special cases, casual taxable person and non-resident taxable person who are getting registration only for a temporary time, their GST number is not permanent, it is only for a limited time, which we'll be discussing when you're talking about GST number for CTP and NRTP. So normal understanding is GST number is permanent. It would be valid till it is cancelled, no concept of renewal, etc. etc. But for CTP and NRTP, it is for a limited time. There are a lot of exceptions for CTP and NRTP. So when you are going to see casual taxable person and non-resident taxable person, in your later part of registration chapter, you will be finding that there are a lot of special points about them. So normally registration will have so and so, but for CTP and NRTP there will be a special point. One of the special point is their GST number is temporary. Now each of the four aspects will be analyzing a bit and talking about the exceptions. Rather we'll be focusing now much about your exceptions. Now the first concept that we have said was your GST number is PAN based. So without having PAN number, you cannot have your GST number. Are there exceptions? Normally, if I have to apply for GST number, first I should have a PAN. Without having a PAN, you cannot go for GST number. But are there exceptions? Yes, there are exceptions. So what are those exceptions? First exception is you have something called as GST TDS number. GST TDS number. So your GST TDS number is not based on your PAN, but it is based on your income tax TAN. It is based on your income tax TAN. That is the first exception. Second exception, you are talking about your NRTP registration. I mean, you are talking about registration of your NRTP, where non-resident taxable person is a non-resident. He might not have a PAN card in India. So non-resident taxable person is granted registration without his PAN. In that case, non-NRTP registration number will be based on PAN, but of whom? But of his authorized signatory, who should be an Indian resident plus a valid PAN card holder. So if you are talking about, say, Donald Trump coming in India and taking registration as NRTP, he will not have a PAN card of India, but he might have an authorized signatory who should be an Indian resident and a valid PAN card holder. So GST number of Donald Trump NRTP will be based on PAN of his authorized signatory, PAN of another person. PAN of another person. Now, not only these two are the exceptions, the other exceptions are also there. You have something called as UIN number, unique identification number, which is given to international bodies. UIN number is also your also a special number, which means it is not a GST number, it is a separate number. It is not based on your PAN, which is given to international bodies. Also, registration taken by OIDRS services, a supplier of OIDRS services, online information and database access and retrieval services, who's there outside India giving services to NTO or non-taxable online recipient, may not be based on PAN, may or may not be based on PAN. It may be or may not be based on PAN. So if they have PAN, well and good. If they don't have PAN, it may not be based on PAN. So basically you're talking about four special aspects. Normally you should have a PAN for getting GST number. When you're talking about a scenario where you don't have PAN but still you're getting GST number. What are those cases? You're talking about the first case being your GST TDS number. GST TDS number. Second case, you're talking about a scenario where you're talking about non-resident taxable person. Third case, you're talking about unique identification number, which is not GST number, it is UIN. It is actually separate from GST number. They don't have something called a GST number, they have UIN. And fourth case, you're talking about OIDAR services from outside India to non-taxable online recipient, a supplier of OIDAR services who's outside India. In the first two cases, it is pretty clear that it is not based on PAN of them. It is not based on PAN of them. In the first case, it is based on your income tax TAN. In the second case, it is based on PAN of another person, that is authorized signatory who should be an Indian resident and a valid PAN card holder. Third and fourth case, it may be based on PAN. If they have, if they don't have, don't worry, it may not be based on PAN. So that is this first understanding. Now, talking about the second concept. What is the second concept that we have discussed? Your GST number should be having Aadhaar authentication. It should be having linkage with Aadhaar. Linkage with Aadhaar number. Now, one may wonder, this Aadhaar linkage was brought on later when you talk about your GST. It was not that right from the beginning of GST. So, you're talking about two aspects. The first aspect here, we are discussing about an already registered person. Second aspect, you're talking about new registration. So, here, you have two aspects. One is already registered person. What will happen for already registered person? And second aspect, you're talking about or you're talking about the person who's taking new registration, individual and non-individual. So when you're talking about a person who's already registered, so what they are trying to tell, every registered person shall undergo Aadhaar authentication, Aadhaar linkage, or he might have to give the proof of Aadhaar number. Now in case they tell that if Aadhaar number is not assigned, then alternate and viable means, that is physical verification, can be done by the officer. Physical verification can be done by the officer. Now, in a case where Aadhaar number is there for them, but they are not going for Aadhaar authentication, then again there can be alternative, or you are not going for Aadhaar authentication, you are not giving the proof of Aadhaar number, or alternate and viable means of identification also you are not ready to give, then registration number shall be deemed to be invalid and it is treated as if you are not having registration. So what are they trying to tell? They are trying to tell that if at all you are already registered person, even then please link your Aadhaar. They are not giving deadline. Please, a very very important point for this cases. As of now, you don't have a deadline for the scenario. You don't have a deadline. There's no deadline. Might be Supreme Court in number of cases have said that you cannot force Aadhaar linking. Or might be that could be one of the case. If you're already registered person, they tell that it is better you link your Aadhaar or give the proof of Aadhaar number. If at all you don't have Aadhaar, the first point is, if at all you're not having Aadhaar, then they tell that we have alternate means. If at all Aadhaar number itself is not assigned, then don't worry. We have an alternative means that you physical verification will be done as per rule 9. But if you have Aadhaar, second point is very very special. If you are having Aadhaar but you are not linking it or not giving the proof of Aadhaar number or any other identification, then the registration itself will be treated as invalid and it is treated as you are not having a registration. So that is an important point. And for a newly registered person, they don't have a deadline. As already said, they are not giving a deadline when you have to link your Aadhaar. But they are very very clever. They don't give a deadline. You are already registered person. Should you link your Aadhaar number with your GST number? Yes. Is there a deadline? No. But what they tell indirectly in Rule 10B of CGST rules. So what is given in Rule 10B of CGST rules? If you are an already registered person, you are talking about Aadhaar authentication of already registered person. Already registered person. Now they tell that you have to link your Aadhaar. You have to link your Aadhaar. Again I repeat, is there a deadline? No, there is no deadline. They just tell that you please link your Aadhaar. You please link your Aadhaar. Other than those exempted. So we'll be seeing exempted category also. Other than those who are exempted under section 25 subsection 6D, you have to link your Aadhaar. Now who has to link? They also give a list. If at all you are a proprietorship concern, Aadhaar of proprietor should be linked. If at all you are a partnership firm, then Aadhaar of any of the partners should be linked. If at all you are talking about HUF, Aadhaar of Karta should be linked. If at all you are talking about the company, either Aadhaar of managing director or any of the whole time director should be linked. If at all you are talking about association of persons or body of individuals or society, Aadhaar of any of the member of managing committee should be linked. Any of the member, single member is also sufficient. If at all you are talking about a trust, Aadhaar of a trustee in the board of trustees should be, any of the trustees should be linked. Apart from that, this is the first part. Apart from that, you should have linkage of Aadhaar of authorized signatory, mandatory in all the cases. Which means whether you are a proprietorship concern or a partnership firm or a HUF or a company or a AOPBI or a trust, they have said whose Aadhaar should be linked. Along with that, your authorized signatory, if he is the same person, supposing authorized signatory for a proprietorship concern is proprietor himself, already it is linked. Authorized signatory for a partnership firm is the same partner whose Aadhaar is linked, it is already linked. Apart from that, if your authorized signatory, supposing you have appointed as general manager as authorized signatory, general managers Aadhaar should also be linked. So they are telling that for proprietorship concern, proprietor's Aadhaar should be linked, plus if authorized signatory is someone else, his Aadhaar should be linked. For a partnership firm, any of the partners Aadhaar should be linked, plus if the authorized signatory is someone else, his Aadhaar should be also linked. For a company, managing director and any of the whole time director Aadhaar should be linked, plus if the authorized signatory is someone else, his Aadhaar should also be linked. For a EOP BOI, they are telling that any member of managing committee's Aadhaar should be linked, if at all your authorized signatory is someone else, his Aadhaar should also be linked. For a trust, any of the trustee or board of trustee Aadhaar should be linked, plus if the authorized signatory is someone else, his Aadhaar should also be linked. Now they are telling that as they have not given any deadline, they indirectly give a deadline. See, for an already registered person, they have said that you should please link the Aadhaar, and if you don't have the Aadhaar, we will physically verify the premises. If you have the Aadhaar but you're not linking your Aadhaar, you're not giving the proof of Aadhaar number or any other number, your registration shall be deemed to be invalid right from the beginning, right? But as they have not given any deadline as to till what time you have to link Aadhaar, what they tell, for certain cases you have to mandatory link the Aadhaar. Now what is that? So certain cases, if at all you are going for revocation of cancellation, if you want to revoke your cancellation, if you are applying for revocation of cancellation, link your Aadhaar. Without linking your Aadhaar, you cannot make application for revocation of cancellation. If at all you are giving a refund application under Rule 89, normal refund application, RFD 01, if you want to make a refund application, your Aadhaar should be linked. If at all you are talking about special refund, automatic refund under Rule 96, which is refund of IGST on export of goods outside India, this is automatic refund, special refund, right? Your Aadhaar should be linked. So let us understand this as your RRR movie. So normally they tell that your Aadhaar should be linked, but they don't give a deadline. But in these three cases, they indirectly tell that if you want to apply for revocation or normal refund under Rule 89 RFD 01 or special refund, that is refund of IGST on export of goods, which is automatic, please make sure that your Aadhaar is linked. If at all your Aadhaar is not linked, you will not be able to make a revocation application. You will not be able to make normal refund application under Rule 89, which is RFD 01. You will not be getting the refund of IGST on export of goods, which is automatic. This third refund is automatic, but still you will not be getting that refund. So they are telling that in these three cases, make sure that Aadhaar is linked. So indirectly they are forcing. So if you are an already registered person, they just tell that you should link your Aadhaar, but there's no deadline. But for RRR cases, triple R cases, without linking your Aadhaar, you will not be able to make revocation application. You will not be able to make normal refund application under Rule 89, that is RFD 01. You will not be getting the refund of IGST on export of goods, which is automatic, but still you will not be getting that refund. But here they carve out an exception. In this RRR cases, they carve out an exception. What is the exception that they tell? If at all Aadhaar number itself is not assigned. In RRR cases, if Aadhaar number itself is not given, then what you can do? You can give your Aadhaar enrollment slip that you have applied for Aadhaar, plus you can give the proof of bank passbook with photograph or a voter ID card or a passport or a driving license, which means if at all you tell that, see, I want to make a revocation application or I want to make a normal refund application under Rule 89 RFD 01, or I want refund of IGST on export of goods under Rule 96, which is automatic, but I don't have Aadhaar. So you can tell that, please give me these triple R. Please give me this triple R. You are getting this triple R with what proof? Proof number 1. You tell that I don't have Aadhaar, but I have applied, I have gone for an application of Aadhaar. I am giving the proof of Aadhaar enrollment ID. Second proof can be any of the above. Either your bank passbook with photograph or your voter ID card or your passport or your driving license. And this case they are very specific. See, we are allowing you RRR without having Aadhaar linking because you don't have Aadhaar. But one of the proof is that you have applied for Aadhaar. Second proof is your ID proof with photograph, any of the 4 cases. They tell that immediately when you get your Aadhaar number, link your Aadhaar within 30 days. So they tell that you can go for RRR without linking the Aadhaar, but there are 2 points. What are the 2 points that they tell? First point they tell that make sure that you prove that you don't have Aadhaar and you give certain documents, that is your Aadhaar enrollment ID that you have applied for Aadhaar and your ID proof, any of the 4 ID proof with photograph. And second, they tell that after your Aadhaar number is given, make sure that within 30 days you link your Aadhaar. One is before getting the benefit of RRR, one is after getting the benefit of RRR. So one is condition that you have to satisfy before getting applying for revocation or getting normal refund or special refund. Second is after you get the benefits, but the moment you get your Aadhaar number, you have to link your Aadhaar within 30 days. So that is given here. Friends, all the discussion that we had now is in terms of sections 25 6A. And why I am telling this, because in all these cases we are talking about Aadhaar linking of already registered person. We are not talking about Aadhaar linking of new registration person. We have discussed only about Aadhaar linking of already registered person in terms of section 25 subsection 6 capital A, read along with your rule 10B. Your rule 10B. Aadhaar linkage in case of already registered person which is not having any deadline. They have just said that you have linked it, no deadline. But in RRR cases they are strict. If you want benefit of RRR, link it, only then you will get. But in certain cases, if you don't have Aadhaar, will help you to get the benefit of RRR. Do something before RRR and do something after RRR. That is the entire understanding here. Now talking about newly registered persons. If at all you are talking about newly registered persons being an individual. If the newly registered person happens to be individual, then he has to link his Aadhaar number or give the proof of the Aadhaar number. Either link or give the proof of the Aadhaar number. If at all he is not at all having the Aadhaar number is not at all there. If you are not linking the Aadhaar, don't worry. There will be alternative means. Physical verification will be there. See, it is unlike your PAN card. If you are linking your Aadhaar or giving the proof of Aadhaar, well and good. If you are not giving that, we'll do physical verification. So that's an alternative means. Without linking your Aadhaar, still you can have your registration number, but what will happen is there will be physical verification. And second part, you are talking about other than individuals. In case of other than individuals, we have already discussed. If at all you are talking about a partnership firm, you have to link the Aadhaar of partners. If at all you are talking about HUF, you have to link the Aadhaar of Karta. If at all you are talking about a company, you have to link the Aadhaar of managing director, whole-time director. If at all you are talking about AOPBI, you have to link the Aadhaar of members of managing committee. If at all you are talking about trust, you have to link the Aadhaar of trustees. Along with that, if your authorized signatory or representative person is different, then his Aadhaar number should also be linked. If your authorized signatory or representative person is a separate person, say general manager of the company or someone else, apart from these persons, if they are one and the same, it is already linked. If they are separate person, their Aadhaar should also be linked. Now again they carve out an exception that you have to link your Aadhaar. Newly registration person, when you are getting the registration number, when you are applying for registration, link the Aadhaar. If you are not doing that, don't worry. We will have an alternative means, that is rule 9, where we will do physical verification and then give the registration. So when you are talking about your Aadhaar, things are a bit different. Normally it tells that without Aadhaar you cannot, without Aadhaar linking you cannot get your GST number. You cannot get your GST number. True, but there are certain exceptions. If you see the exceptions category which is given in section 25 subsection 6D, they talk about a list of cases where you can go without Aadhaar. So first there are list of cases. List of cases. If you want to know list of cases, it is not important for non-citizen. If at all you are not a citizen, non-citizen. If you're not a citizen of India, then you don't require Aadhaar authentication. You don't require Aadhaar authentication. Also, they tell that you don't require Aadhaar authentication for government bodies. For government bodies, you don't require Aadhaar authentication. You don't require Aadhaar authentication. They give a list. First, they tell that if you are not a citizen, then you don't require Aadhaar authentication. If at all you are talking about government bodies, if you are talking about establishment or establishment, central government, state government, or local authority, or a statutory body, or a public sector undertaking. So they tell that okay, government sector, central government, state government, local authority, or you're talking about a public sector undertaking or a statutory body. Forget about your Aadhaar authentication. Aadhaar authentication. They don't stop that. They are talking about the moment I tell that you're talking about non-citizens, so automatically non-resident taxable person comes there. OIDRS comes there because OIDRS is there. If the supplier is there outside India, automatically he is also covered. Apart from that, one more category is covered for TDS and TCS. You don't require Aadhaar authentication. So the list goes in this way. If you are not a citizen of India, or if you are talking about government, that is central government, state government, local authority, or public sector undertaking, or statutory body, not required. Or if you are talking about TDS number and TCS number, it is not required. You don't require Aadhaar authentication. You don't require Aadhaar authentication. Aadhaar authentication is not mandatory. When I am talking about non-citizens, what you need to understand is non-citizens will cover your NRTP also. It will also cover OIDARS from outside India to non-taxable online recipient. Non-taxable online recipient. Now, if you see the list also contains one more part. The list also contains one more part. Person holding UIN. Person holding UIN. Unique identification number. They also don't require Aadhaar authentication. They also don't require Aadhaar authentication. So the list is covering more or less the same category. If you just compare, you will find that the special cases which are given above are all again covered here. So you find your UIN here and UIN here. You find your NRTP registration and OIDRS from outside here, which is also covered here. NRTP and OIDRS from outside India is also covered here. You then also find your TDS number here, and also it is covered here. So what is special is you find, and the special list is, in additional list is government, your statutory body or public sector. This is an additional list. Otherwise the list is the same. They don't require Aadhaar authentication. Now the difference is for others. For others, when you talk about others, if I were to write others here also, for others, in the previous case it was very clear that for others PAN is must. Here for others you have two options. Either link your Aadhaar, or you have an alternative means. There can be physical verification of premises in terms of Rule 9. So there is a difference. If you see the last category, there is a big difference there. So what is the difference there? Forget about exceptions. Balanced category. Without PAN, you cannot have GST number. Balanced category. If you have Aadhaar and if you link the Aadhaar, fine. If you don't link the Aadhaar, even then it is fine. You can go with physical verification. So here you have got a special, very special aspect. Right? What is that special aspect? If you are talking about general category, general thumb rule for PAN with respect to GST number. Without PAN, you cannot get GST number. That is the normal understanding. Without PAN, you cannot get the GST number. But here, even without Aadhaar linking, you can still get GST number through physical verification of premises. Through physical verification of premises. So that is a very special aspect, right? So these two aspects, you can understand this together, that there are certain special cases like your non-citizens, that is NRTP and OIDRS from outside India, or when you're talking about your UIN, or when you're talking about your TDS TCS number, they are not based on PAN number. Also Aadhaar authentication is not required. Additionally, for government, public sector undertaking, statutory body, GST number will be based on PAN, but Aadhaar authentication is not required. For others, PAN number is mandatory, but for as far as Aadhaar authentication is there, you may do Aadhaar authentication, or alternatively you can go for physical verification of premises. So that you need to understand. If I were to give this in a special chart, so I can again summarize that in a more clear manner. You are talking about your NRTP or OIDARS supplier from outside India to non-taxable online recipient, or if you're talking about your TDS TCS number, or when you're talking about your UIN. These four cases. Then you talk about your government, or you're talking about your public sector undertaking, or you're talking about statutory body. Then you're talking about others. You split them into these three categories. First category, neither they are based on PAN, it's not done, or Aadhaar authentication is required. Second category, GST number is based on PAN, but Aadhaar authentication is not required. Third category, others, GST number is based on PAN, Aadhaar authentication is required. If you are not doing Aadhaar authentication, you go for physical verification of premises in terms of Rule 9. So this way you can understand in a more simple manner. So that is all about your Aadhaar authentication. Now let us go to the third concept, where you are talking about GST number is state based. One state, one registration. One state, one registration. Now is it possible that throughout India can you have one registration? Yes. Full India you can have a single registration. When you are talking about your UIN, and when you are talking about your OIDRS from outside India to non-taxable online recipient, they get PAN India one registration. PAN India one registration. Single registration for entire India. Friends, it is not there for others. It is only for UIN. And when you are talking about your OIDRS from outside India to non-taxable online recipient, it is not there for your TDS TCS, it is not there for your even NRTP. So this concept of full India one registration, PAN India single registration, PAN India single registration is only and only for OIDRS, and this they will have PAN India. They will have PAN India single registration, only and only for your OIDRS from outside India and UIN. They have PAN India single registration. For all others, one state, one registration. For everyone else, you have to go with one state, one registration concept. Now, there is one more exception. Can within one state you have multiple registration? See, first aspect is normal understanding is one state, one registration. For entire India, one registration is possible only for two cases, UIN and OIDS outside India. Now we are talking about ulta exception, reverse exception. Within a state, can I have multiple registration? Yes, within a state you can have multiple registration. If at all you are talking about multiple branches, you have multiple place of business within the same state, you may optional take separate registration for each of the branches. There is one more exception. If at all you are having DTA unit as well as a special economic zone unit, then you shall mandatorily take separate registration. Separate registration. Now let me put this in this particular concept. Normal understanding is one state, one registration. One state, one registration. Now exception. Normal understanding, you have this concept of one state, one registration. Exception. Throughout India, full India, pan India. When I tell pan India, it is throughout India. You can go with pan India. You can go with one registration. That is first exception. Second exception, within the state. Within the state, one state. Within that single state, can you have multiple registration? Yes, you can have multiple registration. So the normal principle is one state, one registration. One state, one registration. Exception is when you talk about full India, one registration is only and only for your unique identification number and OIDARS, supplier of OIDARS, that is online information and database access and retrieval sources from outside India to non-taxable online recipient. So these two are the only exception where for their functioning throughout India, they will get only one GST number. Now within the state, can I go for multiple registration? Yes. Again, that is a possibility where you are talking about if at all you are having multiple place of business, you can go for multiple registration within that state, but it is optional. But it is optional. Or if you have a DTA unit in a state and special economic zone unit in a state, then you can go for multiple registration, but it is not optional, it is mandatory. It is mandatory. So the base concept is one state, one registration. If I am working in 2 states, 2 registration, 5 states, 5 registration, 10 states, 10 registration. Exception, full India, one registration is only there for UIN, OIDRS from outside India to non-taxable online recipient. And friends, when you are talking about within a state, can you go for multiple registration? 2 scenarios. If you have multiple place of business, you can go for multiple registration, but it is not mandatory. If you want, you can go optional. If you have a DTA unit and special economic zone unit within the same state, then if you can go for multiple registration, but this time it is mandatory. It is mandatory. Now let us understand this. This is all clearly given. Whatever we have discussed is given here. So let us take an example to conclude and understand that. Assume that you are working in Tamil Nadu and you are working in Karnataka. In Tamil Nadu, you have 10 branches, 6 are dealing with textiles and 4 branches are dealing with jewelry. In Karnataka, you have 20 branches, 12 are dealing with textile and 8 are dealing with jewelry. Branches means all the branches, let us assume that all the branches are separate place of business. Now, please understand that the base concept is one state, one registration. So it is pretty clear that in Tamil Nadu, I need to take one registration. In Karnataka, I need to take one registration. So this is minimum requirement. This is minimum requirement. The fact that we are talking about whether it is textile unit or jewelry unit, it's all irrelevant. You need not see whether it is a textile unit or a jewelry unit or some business verticals is no more relevant. What is the maximum registration that I can take in Tamil Nadu? How many place of business I have in Tamil Nadu? 10. So maximum registration that I can take in Tamil Nadu is total 10 registration, and in Karnataka maximum I can take is 20 registration. Company per se will surely have one registration in Tamil Nadu and one registration in Karnataka. But if they want, it is optional. If they want, they can take 10 registration total in Tamil Nadu because maximum is the limit, and 20 registration in Karnataka because they have 20 branches in Karnataka. If I change the question and if I tell that in Tamil Nadu they have 10 branches, 6 are dealing with jewelry textiles, including 1 in special economic zone. So 6 are dealing with textile, but 1 is in special economic zone. Out of that 6, 4 are dealing with jewelry. In Karnataka, You have 20 branches. 12 are dealing with textile and 8 branches are dealing with jewelry. Out of 8 branches which are dealing in jewelry, 2 are there in 2 separate special economic zone. And just same understanding, all the branches means they are the separate place of business, separate establishments. So what you are required to do in Tamil Nadu and in Karnataka, understand that again we are analyzing your minimum registration that you should take and maximum. So whenever you have a special economic zone, mandatorily you have to take multiple registration. So in Tamil Nadu, total branches are 10. Forget textile and jewelry is all confusing. Total 10 branches are there, out of which one is there in special economic zone. So special economic zone I should take surely separate registration, and balance 9 branches I can take one registration. So minimum I have to take 2 registration. One for special economic zone and one for balance 9 branches. In Karnataka, totally there are 20 branches, out of which 2 are in special economic zone. Forget about textile and jewelry. Understand that for 2 units in 2 special economic zone, I'll take 1 registration, and for balance 18 branches, I'll take 1 registration. So 2. I don't have an option. I have to take minimum. In Tamil Nadu, minimum I have to take 2 registration. In Karnataka, minimum I have to take 2 registration. Why? In Tamil Nadu, I'll take 1 registration for that special economic zone and 2nd registration for the 9 other branches. In Karnataka, I'll take 1 registration for those 2 special economic zone units, and the 2nd registration will be for balance 18 branches. Right. What is the maximum registration that I can take? That remains the same. Maximum registration that I can take in Tamil Nadu, totally I have 10 place of business, 10 registration. In Karnataka, totally I have 20 place of business, 20 registration. So maximum registration, which is optional, is 20. See, when I tell minimum to maximum, whatever is between minimum to maximum, that we call it as optional. So you are talking about your option. After whatever is minimum, whatever extra you are taking is not mandatory, it is optional. It's not mandatory, it is optional. But in the second case, where you are having special economic zone, this gives a very clear picture. You are merging everything. In Tamil Nadu, you will take 2 registration for what purposes? 1 registration for special economic zone, 2nd registration for all the 9 branches. In Karnataka, you will take 2 registration for what purposes? 1 registration for both the special economic zone that are there, and 2nd registration for the balance 18 branches. Maximum remains the same. So that is all about your registration aspect with respect to one state, one registration. Now the last concept which is there, it's already discussed at the beginning, 4th concept, that when you are getting the GST number, it is not tax based. It is not tax based. So once you are getting the GST applied under your SGST Act, it is as good as you have got the GST under CGST Act. You don't take separate registration for Maharashtra SGST. If you are registered in Maharashtra, then CGST separately, IGST separately, CES separately. So this concept is the same. So this we call it as deemed registration. Deemed registration as per section 26 of your CGST Act. So once you are applying for registration under SGST Act, it is as good as you have applied under CGST Act also. You have not only applied for that state, you have also applied for the central government automatically. Deemed registration concept under section 26. And this entire 4 concepts that we have discussed, in the 3rd concept we are talking about multiple registration, which is based on place of business, which is optional. Now what is meant by your place of business in terms of section 2 clause 85, and principal place of business in terms of section 2 clause 89. See, place of business means not only your head office. Place of business includes your head office, your branches where the business is ordinarily carried on. Also it includes the warehouse or godown where you are stocking the goods, where you are storing the goods. It also includes the place where you are keeping your books of accounts. So wherever you are keeping your books of accounts, that is also included. It will also include the agent's place through whom you are carrying the Business, we are not talking about special agent as per schedule. A normal agent who's keeping your goods. Here the focus is on your normal agent. So if I have to make it very simple, your place of business includes the definition is inclusive. Your head office or your branches. It will also include your godowns as well as your warehouse. It will also include a place where you are keeping your books of accounts. Might be a corporate office or your residence. You might keep your books of accounts in residence. That is also place of business. It might also include your normal agent. You're not talking about special agent. Normal agent who's keeping your goods. Special agent will have separate registration. Normal agent. Now, what is out of all these places? Which one would be your principal place of business? Now, here be careful. Normal understanding is head office will be the principal place of business, which is not true. You can select any place as your principal place of business. Whatever you select would be specified as principal place of business in your registration certificate. A very, very, very important point. Normally, if I said this and I tell that which is principal place of business and which is additional place of business, you would have said that head office is principal place of business, all other are additional place of business. No. You can select any place as principal place of business. So I could select my go down number 1 as principal place as my go down number 1. I have multiple go downs. Principal place of business. All other place of business. Every other things will become all other places. All other place of business will become my additional place of business. I'm just trying to make a point that I could have selected my go down number 1 as principal place of business. Automatically all my other place of business would have become my additional place of business. So my all other place of business would have become my additional place of business. So first you have understood what is place of business. Not only your head office but also your branches where your business is already carried on, that is corporate office will also be included, but also your go downs, warehouse, etc. Also your place where you're keeping your books of accounts. It can be your residence as well, director's residence as well. Also normal agent's place who's carrying on the business on your behalf, having the stock. Now all these are places. Supposing your places of business in Tamil Nadu are say 50. Only one of them you will select as principal place of business. That one of them can be even go down number 10. It need not be head office. All the other place of business will become your additional place of business. So that is all about the definition of your principal place, place of business and your principal place of business. With this, we have understood the base of GST registration, the nature of GST registration.